Hello and welcome to our Managing Motivation session. This session will cover top tips for supporting your child during the second full lockdown, where we can support their emotional resilience and well-being during this time. My name is Helen Norton and I am Director of Achievement of Year 10 at Hayesville Girls School.
And my name is Jake Dixon and I am Director of Achievement for Year 8, also at Hayesville Girls School.
And what we're going to look through is a lot of different ways that you can support your child. And we're going to start with what we feel is the most important, which is routine. Routine is essential. It creates a sense of stability, structure and safety, while your children are working from home. What we would say is that that they still set their alarms every morning, getting up as if they were going to school each day. This ensures that they have enough time to eat their breakfast and make a good start before their home learning begins. Routine will also give them a chance to take rest breaks so that they don't get cognitively overloaded, which is highly important. It also allows them time to eat healthy and drink plenty of water throughout their day. And what we would say to all of our students is, making sure that within that planning that they're making sure to take time for themselves and do things that they enjoy and things that would be that would act as a reward for them after a hard day's work. What we would say is to create a bit of a lockdown timetable while working from home. Now, they can do this in a number of ways. Some of your children might have whiteboards or pen boards that they can put it up in the space that they're working in. We would suggest maybe drawing out a timetable, make it nice and colourful and stand out so they can follow it each day. But it can come down as simply as well to just making a bit of a timetable on their phones, as you can see on the picture here. This allows them to create a plan for their day. It helps them figure out, okay, what time are they designating to their home learning throughout the day, but also to the things that they enjoy. And this will give them a sense of stability and also, makes things not as difficult, makes things, it breaks it down into manageable chunks. And also at the end of the day, they will feel a sense of success and achievement and accomplishment for finishing off their kind of timetable and checklist for the day.
Now, obviously, one really important aspect that we are looking at is, during this lockdown period is trying to obviously maintain that healthy eating, that healthy diet that we're looking at before. Now, what's really, really important is to make sure that we've got those regular meals as part of that. And we always would suggest that breakfast is that most important meal of the day. If we have students who are at home waiting to sort of log on to their online learning, having had a full breakfast ready to get started and ready to learn for the day, they're going to be in a much stronger position than students who are waking up at 8:25 and quickly rushing to get to their 8:30 tutor session that morning. It's all about setting up yourself to be able to be successful during that day. Now, obviously, part of that is including drinking plenty of water throughout the day. Now, that is something that actually should be more readily available for the students now that they're at home, because obviously when they're busy moving around the day whilst they're in school, that can be something that is can be tricky to manage during that time. Now, one aspect there that is going to be more difficult for them to take control of perhaps during the day is going to be that unhealthy snacking. It might be quick and easy for someone to grab some chocolate or grab some sweets whilst they're working from home and quickly have a little nibble during their lesson. But when they're at school, obviously that's something that they're not going to be able to do during the school day. So it's really important that we make sure that those snacks that they're having during the day are going to be really beneficial to their learning, really beneficial for their health. So obviously some of the food groups that we put on the left-hand side of the screen there are going to be really helpful for that. What we always also look to try and encourage is that healthy competition between students, between households, between friendship groups, by actually saying, how can we challenge ourselves in something that we're making, something that we're going to be eating, and trying to make that a healthy challenge. Often you hear about different eating challenges that are linked to maybe more unhealthy foods, but actually trying to flip that on its head and looking at that healthy competition in terms of what they are putting into their bodies for that healthy food. And obviously a key part of that is looking at rest and recuperation, and really, really importantly, looking at sleep. Now, we at Hayesfield use the term sleep, and when we're talking about students about sleep, we're talking about sleep hygiene. And it is really, really important. I would say it's even more important now to make sure that the sleep hygiene is at a really high level compared to usually, because actually in this period of lockdown, the amount of time that students are spending at home is absolutely enormous. They are working from home during the day, and then generally they will only be going out for one walk a day. So it's about making sure that that sleep hygiene is really, really high quality to ensure that they are able to sleep as they should be. Now, research suggests that teenagers should be getting approximately 9 hours of sleep per night. But realistically, in those studies, they've also said that most teenagers are getting around 7 hours sleep at night. So obviously that's a deficiency in terms of the amount of sleep that they're getting. And that is going to be detrimental to their concentration and being able to focus on their schoolwork the next day. It's going to be detrimental to their food and drink consumption. If you're tired, you're more likely to have that piece of food or that drink that you shouldn't necessarily have or you don't necessarily need or want, but actually the desire for it is greater because of the lack of sleep. And really, the other part is that general mood the next day. We all know as adults how if we are tired, that can make us more irritable, that can make it sort of day-to-day tasks just seem more difficult. And that's no different to these young people, but they are trying to now navigate working and their social life all being at home. Another aspect within that is looking at the access to screens, social media, and the impact that that's having. Of course, that's being raised at the moment due to the amount of online learning they're doing. So we need to be really, really careful to make sure we minimise it at other times as much as possible. It does have an impact on the emotional well-being, that amount of time that you can spend on social media, and that level for different students differs. But actually, that differs for adults of any age. Now, what we always try to encourage students is this Sleep Better challenge that we've mentioned on the right-hand side of the page. So it gives you little bits and pieces that you can try. So looking at making sure that your space is nice and tidy, looking at what you're consuming before you're going to bed to help you to be able to go to sleep quicker. Looking at how you can be physically active as part of that, how you can take a bath or a shower. Looking at that detox. Now, we always recommend, it says on the poster, looking at avoiding your phone for 2 hours before going to sleep. Now, I think possibly for lots of young people, that's going to be quite unrealistic and that's going to be quite difficult for them to manage. So at school, we always talk about actually making sure that that's at least 1 hour before night, because I think 1 hour makes it more achievable to the students. And it's all about actually creating that level of challenge between friends and friendship groups, challenging each other as part of this program. And when we can get that in place, that makes everything more effective as we move through.
And what we've been finding is, you know, your children at home are working from their bedrooms, and what they're linking that then in their brain is that that room is now a work environment and not a relaxing environment. So what we would suggest as a top tip for you as parents is to make sure that we can differentiate between the two by moving your children into another room in the house for them to do their home learning during the day, which allows to keep those two things completely separate from each other. It also allows you to have a good look to see if they're keeping on track with their home learning during the day as well. But that would be our top tip, just to keep their bedrooms as a separate place of relaxation so that they're able to go and have a good sleep at night time. What we also look at is a digital detox, as Jake was saying, the phone use and just electronics in general, so computers, tablets, and even the TV. You know, it's all screen time. They're on it non-stop at the minute because we're all working from home. So a digital detox is really important. What we would suggest for this, we've got 3 top suggestions. One would be looking at journaling and bullet journaling, gratitude journaling, mood tracking. All of those different things kind of come under the same branch. And one thing that ties it all together is the positive planner, which you will see in the picture at the top. Now, this is a Bath-based company. You can buy them on Amazon and not on the high street. And what they do, it's a book which can, you know, you can track different daily goals. You can look at mood tracking. It has mindfulness colouring in, and it kind of incorporates it all in one place. Now, I know a lot of our students have these already and got them as Christmas presents this year, and they're finding them really useful. So we would recommend those, and it just allows them to take maybe 10 minutes out of their day to maybe do a page a day with a cup of tea or hot chocolate, and it's incorporating that mindfulness and that time for themselves as well. well, a little bit of a rest break after all the work that they're doing during the day. We also would suggest the old-fashioned good old book, okay? So making sure that your children, have access to books at home that they can pick up and read whenever they want to take some time out for themselves. And the other thing that we would recommend as part of a digital detox is this app Flipped. You can get it on the Android and Apple stores. And what it does is you set a timer and your phone will go off during this time, and it will come back on for as long, you set it as a certain time to go off. What we would suggest as well is doing this as a bit of a family challenge, so maybe setting it over dinner time so that everybody has dinner time to come together as a family and have a nice chat. And again, it puts phones out of their head and just allows them to have a bit of a rest break after a busy day.
Now, another part that's obviously extremely important throughout this lockdown period is that physical and emotional well-being. Now, we know, having spoken to a number of students, that when they're looking at that work that's piling up on top of them, often the easiest part to get rid of can be that P work that's been set, because of obviously their opinions about the subject. And it's all about making sure that actually that physical activity can have such a positive impact on other aspects of their day, other aspects of their learning, and then just their general physical and emotional well-being. Now, when we're talking about physical activity, people often always kind of come back to going out for a run. That isn't necessarily what we mean as part of that, although of course that would be definitely a good option if that's something that you're interested in. It's about choosing an activity that you're feeling comfortable and feeling safe doing. So for some people that would be going out for a dog walk. For some people that will be going out for a run. For other people that might be going out for a walk with a friend and being able to catch up with them at the same time. It's really important to remember that all physical activity will release those endorphins in the body to have a positive impact on just general mood, general well-being. It will improve concentration. It will make the whole process of learning and working from home so much better, so much more effective. Now, most of the students are used to walking around the school each day, and that in itself is a low level of physical activity, physical exercise, which means that they are able to release those endorphins to help improve how they are learning during the school day. All right, and then when we link it to emotional well-being, actually the two go hand in hand, because it's about being still connected with other people. It's about joining those live lessons that you've got set for you to make sure that you can see and talk to other people who are part of your lessons. You can link that emotional well-being with being physically active, like I've just mentioned. You can link it to learning new skills. You can link it to random acts of kindness. All of these different aspects are all really important to help you feel happier, both physically and emotionally, and then the link between the two. And another point that's really important that we're going to talk about in a moment is looking at paying a full attention to that present moment that we're in, looking at that mindfulness, making sure that we are giving that our full attention to ensure that we are able to engage in it fully.
And we've thrown this term mindfulness about a few times during the session already. And as Jake just described, it is about just being in the moment, taking some time out of what we all find, not just your children, but what we all find is a busy day, and taking some time for yourself to just take a moment to think about how you feel and how maybe stressed you are and how your body kind of feels in that moment, and taking some time to relax and recuperate throughout your day. Now, some suggestions that we would have for mindfulness ideas for your children are yoga. Yoga is a really good start to the day, but can also be used at the end of the day as part of your sleep routine before bedtime. One we would suggest is yoga with Adrienne. And she does a special teenager yoga at the minute, which has proven really beneficial. The other thing that we would suggest is the Headspace app. And if you haven't heard of this or seen it before, it's absolutely excellent. It incorporates so many different things. It's got meditation of all different times. So if you don't have much time, I think they go down to maybe 1 or 2 minutes, which is really good. It also has some running ideas. It has some story times for the evenings as well. So it encapsulates quite a lot. But the other thing that they've just started doing is a Spotify podcast, which is also really beneficial. So if you don't want to invest in the app, I would definitely say pop on over to Spotify and get your children listening to the podcast, which they also might find really beneficial.
Now, I'd say when we're talking about self-care and we're looking at the 8 different categories there, all of those categories really bring together everything that we've been talking about. All of those categories are interlinked with each other. And as we are experiencing this time of working from home, we can see actually how those links between them can become more and more blurred. When we're talking about the space that we've got and our working environment and our personal side of self-care, all of that becomes so much more blurred together. And there are some aspects of it that can be easily forgotten or easily put to one side, like the physical, like the emotional side that we've talked about. Even that financial side can be almost forgotten about during this period of time. So it's about being really, really clear in what we're saying in terms of making sure that we are really aware of that link between all of these. It's how we can promote that between young people, between school and home, and between the family members themselves. It's about how we can support each other to be able to make sure that we're all able to look after ourselves and all able to care for ourselves, but also obviously care for others as part of that as well.
And I think, what we found as well is that many of you probably felt like the first lockdown wasn't too bad and feel like you've came out unscathed. But what we found with our students talking to them is that this lockdown has been a lot more tricky. They've went back to school, at the start of the year and felt that everything was getting back to normal, and that this second lockdown's actually hit them quite hard. So what we really have to emphasise is maybe we didn't need these ideas last time, but we may need them this time. And please, I do hope that you take some of our tips away and try them out within your household, because they are tried and tested and they are working really well for a number of our students within Haysfield. What we would say then is, we hope that you've enjoyed the session, and if you do feel that you've tried some of these things and maybe they're not working or you need a little bit more help, please do get in touch with your pastoral departments at your affiliated school. And just want to say a big thank you.
Yeah, thank you for listening and have a good evening. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.